Hey everyone, I'm Ben Schneider, and welcome to part 2 of the conversation with my old cross-country teammate, Noah Pfenninger. Lots of good stuff in this one: NASCAR, football, baseball, Marvel, and if you were curious about my updated thoughts on the whole Jeopardy hosting saga, we'll get into some game show stuff at the end as well, so you might want to stick around for that. We've got plenty of things to talk about here, so let's just jump into it. Here's part 2. So I think one of the reasons that we hit it off so well in middle school was I've been a race fan my whole life, and your entire family really were fans of NASCAR particularly.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got into the sport, and I guess how your family got into it as well.
I mean, I think my mom, her parents were kind of like into NASCAR, and my grandmother she lives about an hour and a half outside of Martinsville. So there's that, but I don't know, my mom was really into it, and I guess my dad started watching it with her. And then my sister and I and my brothers, we got a little bit into it, getting to watch it and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of got introduced. Lately I haven't been keeping up with it as much, but...
Did the Cars movies from Disney and Pixar
influence
any of that? Because that's what got it started for me.
A little bit. Actually, I have a speaking of the Cars movies, Cassandra's nephew, his dad is a huge NASCAR fan, so he goes out whenever he can and goes and sees races. But I'm just not as into them as I used to be.
Yeah, well, we talk about it all the time. Just the ratings and attendance have continued to decline, and I think there's a whole various number of reasons for that, but you're right. I think of I'm still in your mother's Facebook group with that fantasy racing thing, which I'm not even keeping up with that anymore just because it's tough for me with everything else I'm doing.
I don't think anybody else really is. I think, well, after my dad had a stroke, it's kind of like my mom's had been very focused on other things.
Sure.
So, yeah.
It's just kind of like pick whoever and hope you get it.
I don't even know. I haven't been keeping up with it for several years, so...
Yeah, what was it for you? You just kind of fell out of it, or...
Yeah, I just kind of fell out of it, found some other sports. I'm into cars. Like, I watched Grand Tour, I watched Top Gear, looking forward to the next Grand Tour special, whenever the heck that will be, in another 5 years' time, with all the COVID stuff.
Top Gear stuff with Clarkson, May and Hammond, right?
Hammond, yeah. I don't even try and watch the new stuff.
Yeah. I feel like once you are introduced to the one with those three, like, because the one in America here with Rutledge Wood and Tanner Faust and everything, and nothing against them, but it's not Jeremy Clarkson, so it's...
I love watching the Grand Tour. Every time, once in a while, I'll put on like one of their specials and just have it on in the background, because to me it's enjoyable just watching them. Their Mongolia special, I don't know if you watched the Grand Tour Mongolia one, but I love just watching that one and then putting this car together in the middle of Mongolia.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere, Mongolia.
Well, I know I could talk for hours on how disillusioned I've been with recent changes they've made, and it's kind of hard to deny, like, even if you like the new stuff, then it's good for you, I guess, but it's not it doesn't excite me as much as it used to, and I'm so connected with the things I'm doing right now, and everybody I follow on Twitter and on social media almost is all into that, so that's all they tweet about during the races. So it's hard to not keep up with it at all, because you're immersed in it at that point, and you're constantly at least hearing from somebody else what's going on. I still watch the races when I can, but I think of where my interest is these days. I've really picked up Formula One and the IndyCar stuff. I still watch NASCAR, most weekends, but it's just not a fan of stage racing, not a fan of the current playoff system that they've had for several years now. So it just makes it harder to be as invested in it when you see all these changes that you don't like.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird how unpopular that stuff is, but they keep it. Like, they don't try and do anything about it. Or what they do is they do something about it, and it's even more unpopular.
So we have a bunch of sayings on Twitter that we come back to that are like quotes from people within the sport that make little to no sense, or that we sarcastically come back to every so often. And my favorite is everything is great, which I think actually was a Kyle Busch quote. That was kind of his, Marshawn Lynch when he said, "I'm just here so I don't get fined." He gave an interview after a fight with Joey Logano or something, and that was his answer. It was like, everything's great, But that's kind of been the motto, I think, of the leadership in the sport is like, we had a great year, or, everything is, we're on the high side of the scale from 1 to 10, everything's great. And, it's, you look at the ratings and, yeah.
Well, my first roommate was really into NASCAR too.
Sure.
So it kind of kept up with it. Yeah. But after that, it's just... Yeah. And he was a big...
William Byron?
Byron. Yeah, he was a huge Byron fan.
Yeah.
So as we all were at Liberty, because we were like, he drives for Liberty. He's a Liberty student. We gotta support him.
Right. Yeah. So. But I still love how, just drawing it back, when Chase Elliott wins his first race, and it's like, finally, he's finished second 8 times, and, he's so popular. This is what the sport needs for him to be doing well. And then, 18 hours later, you read in the news that Brian France got arrested for a DUI. And it's, I really shouldn't laugh because it's not a laughing matter, but it was just like, are you kidding me?
Well, some things you just gotta laugh off.
Yeah, you go from the highest of highs to the CEO of a sport centered on driving cars, busted for
DUI driving.
Yeah, just unbelievable. So
yeah,
but he was universally disliked. I think even more than like a Roger Goodell or Rob Manfred even.
Well, I feel like a lot of sports are kind of struggling right now with certain rules and regulations. I know baseball umpires are not at all appreciated.
Yeah, the whole replay system I think screwed a lot of stuff up too.
Yeah, and it's just it's a little crazy. I'm trying to think of some other sports that are just suffering because of extra rules or stuff. Yeah. I know football suffered because of the kneeling and stuff like that. Yeah.
But that's what it comes back to with NASCAR too. I think is there's too many rules.
Yeah.
It overcomplicates things.
Yeah.
But I do remember you were a big Carl Edwards fan.
Yeah, I don't even know where he's at now.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that was part of it for you as well. When he kind of suddenly stepped away.
Yeah. Which, if he's living his best life,
and that's we still hear from him. I feel like once or twice a year he'll come on and do an interview or something. But he's one of the few that never got on social media or anything. So
yeah, and I think in some ways that's just all for the better. He's able to live a quieter life with his family. Where he's not being pushed around and poked and prodded, much like Bubba.
Yeah.
There was a big thing with Bubba recently.
Yeah, the thing that happened with Bubba was it was reported that a noose was found in his garage. So NASCAR made a big deal about it and everything, and they were nice, beautiful moments of unity and solidarity, but then the FBI was called in and they found that it was a garage rope that had been fashioned like a noose, and there was a picture of it came out even a few days later, and that was the shape of it. But
then, it pops up on social media, and that's how you get a big social media presence, and it's like because the celebrities revolve around social media nowadays.
Yeah, but I felt badly for Bubba, if anything, because everybody was comparing him to Jussie Smollett, the fake,
of course,
the hate crime,
and that's terrible because Jussie Smollett was, that's
so,
that.
You can have your opinions one way or the other on any number of issues, but that was just what drove me crazy.
And social media is a huge part of it, where social media kind of brought it to where he's being compared. It's a very negative thing because now he's going to be looked under that judgment for a long time because of that.
Yeah, well, and he's got a great opportunity now with Michael Jordan's team coming into the sport. And it's just like you said, it's unfortunate that's always kind of among that crowd going to be hanging over him, even though, it's not really a fair comparison. But because of how much it was blown up in the media when it happened, and then you find out it isn't, people don't look at the full story.
Well, and when people think NASCAR, they think rednecks.
Yeah.
And when people think rednecks, they think racists.
Yeah.
And so that's just a whole thing where it can almost automatically be assumed that someone did that. Not in terms of truth, but people in their minds will assume that, oh, that kind of thing happened. There was a noose found there. And it can be a negative thing sometimes, a very negative, slippery slope, if I may.
Yeah, well, that was frustrating when all that went down last year.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Everybody says, well, Bubba Wallace isn't really a victim. Well, he wasn't a victim of a hate crime, but he was a victim of an awful misunderstanding that led to people, saying some awful things about him. But it's good. It seems that he's able to, just kind of turn away from it and get on with driving the Cup Series with a new team now. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's strange because, just drawing it all back to the state of the sport, I feel like there's such a positive things with Michael Jordan coming in, and that's a huge name, and Pitbull now owning the Trackhouse team with Justin Marks, and, you think those guys have massive followings, you're going to be bringing a whole new set of fans into the sport, and yet the hardcore base that you have of traditional motorsports fans, they're disillusioned with
everything else, really.
what the sport's become. Yeah. So I wonder if the ratings are stable this year. How many have you gained from like basketball fans seeing the crossover with Michael's team versus
possibly even baseball fans?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, at the same time, you're turning older fans away. But we'll see what happens with the next gen car coming in. But yeah, I remember, I guess the only race we attended together was, I think, Dover that one year in 2012.
Yeah, and I had been to Dover a couple times since then. And I know Dover's not any particularly exciting track.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because it's local.
It's the home track.
But I mean, admittedly, it's not the most exciting. It hasn't been putting on the most exciting races in recent years. But I'd rather blame the current package in the Cup Series for that, among other things. And the current car, say what you will about the car of tomorrow, if you will, and at least it put on decent racing. Certainly it didn't look as nice as the Gen 4 did, but Jimmy Johnson won that race.
He did.
Yeah,
I didn't want Jimmy Johnson to win. I remember people being a little upset that Jimmy Johnson won. Yeah,
well, that was like he was just coming off of his 5 in a row at that point, and I think once you get to the point where you're winning that much, almost everybody suffers from the fatigue. You just want to.
Nobody wants to see.
You want to see somebody else
win,
come up and knock you off your throne.
Even if you're a Jimmy fan, you want to see Jimmy kind of struggle a little bit, and because you want him to have good competition.
Yeah, but it was funny to see. The last few years to see wasn't winning and was approaching the retirement. Fans wanting to see him win one last time, and now what he's doing over in IndyCar, trying to make the transition, which is incredibly challenging with how different the cars are. Just how it's kind of been a 180 on his general popularity within the sport. He's one of the more popular drivers now, whereas when he was at the height of his championships, people got tired of seeing him win all the time.
Yeah, and like I said, that just goes back to it being challenged. Like, you want to be challenged. Yeah, that's how you have a good sport. Like, I don't think anybody wants to see the Buccaneers play the Bengals, because we all know who's going to win that one. It's no one being challenged is not fun. I'd rather see. I'm trying to think of a good matchup in my head.
Well, the Chiefs, I guess.
The Chiefs.
A Super Bowl rematch wouldn't be.
That'd be exciting. I'd definitely root for the Chiefs in terms of that. But
that's a nice segue into football, I guess. We're talking about other sports. Yeah. I feel like growing up you were a Cowboys fan, right? Because of the Texas connection a little bit. But
my mom really liked the Cowboys, and my sister really likes the Cowboys. And then I realized that they're actually the Cowgirls.
So you're not a Cowboys fan anymore?
No, I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore. My brother-in-law is. But
Well, I know you.
Packers.
Yeah, no,
are
you
my
became a Packers fan.
NFC, and the Bills are AFC.
Yeah, your Packers had a great first week, I must say.
Shame. You're an Eagles fan, right? So
Sadly, yes.
Well, hey.
Well, I mean,
hey,
I know. I can't. I'm just as shocked as everyone else is.
Cassandra's a big Eagles fan, and the lead pastor at my church, he's an Eagles fan, and so they were both happy. I'm like, ugh. What was the final score in the Packers game? I didn't even watch it.
I think it was 38-3.
38-3, yeah. I'm just, it's so embarrassing. Aaron, come on, get your act together. But it's Aaron Rodgers, so he doesn't really have much of an act.
He's gonna go host Jeopardy, I think. That whole saga going down right now.
Yeah,
they need a host again.
Yeah,
but I keep seeing these conspiracy theories of like because of what happened this offseason, he doesn't want to really be there, and he's not thrilled about the situation. So how much is he actually going to be trying this year? Because he's won a Super Bowl. He's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I think I gotta go and start getting a paper bag to put over my head in terms of that, because if he doesn't try, and not gonna lie, Jordan Love isn't very good. It's gonna be a bad season. So Bills, go Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Bills on my other team. My dad's from Buffalo or from Syracuse, so close connection there. He likes the Bills. So sadly they lost to Pittsburgh, but
yeah. Well, it's crazy how you can go from being in the conference championship and going toe-to-toe with the team that ends up winning the Super Bowl, and then what happens over the offseason, and here you are getting blown out in week 1.
Yeah, to the Saints.
Yeah.
To the Saints. At least we didn't lose to the Bears, but
did you see Drew Brees giving the highlight reel or something? Like Jameis Winston threw a super long pass into the end zone for a touchdown. And Drew Brees is like, so this is what the Saints have been missing the last couple years. And, poking fun at himself a little bit, I guess. But
yeah, I like Drew Brees, though. He's honestly a really nice guy.
Yeah.
From everything that I've seen. And to be able to poke fun at yourself like that, I respect that, because there are some people, Aaron Rodgers, who wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. Well, it was sad to see him go, but you could tell, once he got into his early 40s, it wasn't the same as it used to be. But that's just what I mean. You can love Brady or you can hate Brady, but to be 44 and still playing like he played Thursday night, it's just sadly, whatever opinion you have of the guy, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's definitely a good player, even with Deflategate under his belt, which that was more of a Belichick thing. And in some ways, I think he's doing a lot better than when he was playing
with New England. Yeah,
with New England. Yeah, and the Patriots are struggling a bit now, but
yeah. Well, there was always, I just couldn't believe. I thought, Brady would take some time getting used to Tampa and everything, and Belichick would just keep rolling. But it was like the opposite happened. Brady picked up right away, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was ready for it. So I think that's probably one of the most impressive feats in NFL history, is being able to jump into a team for the first season at his age.
Yeah.
And
when he's got more Super Bowls now than any team does.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. Yeah. I don't know, though. Yeah. I mean, I saw something this week. It's like this was the Eagles' biggest margin of victory since the Super Bowl year, which is, kind of depressing, but I don't know. They've been talking about Deshaun Watson, like rumors that they were trying to trade for him or something.
The Eagles need to figure out their roster. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I mean, because that's
roster.
Like, all the controversies and allegations against Deshaun Watson aside, like, that's exactly what the Eagles need, is another quarterback and more quarterback controversy after everything that happened with Wentz versus Foles and then Wentz versus Hurts, and now, you want to commit to Jalen Hurts, but you're thinking about drafting another quarterback or something, and what's that going to say to somebody like Jalen Hurts who's trying to prove himself early in his career?
Yeah. The Eagles, that's probably their biggest problem in terms of the Eagles, is they can't keep a consistent quarterback. That just happens.
Well, even Foles, I feel like, his magical here in Philly, but you
Yeah.
know, everywhere else just pretty mediocre.
Struggles. And it might be the team chemistry at that point.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're playing with. And
Foles is
You
at
know.
Liberty doing some grad stuff, right? Wasn't he doing some?
yeah, a couple years ago,
Things
I think,
online?
I
Yeah.
think he's done with that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people, I mean, there were a lot of Philadelphia fans at Liberty.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question. Like, what is? I assume college football is very big there, obviously, but
Yes. I mean, you're in the South. College football is huge in the South.
But like, what is? I'm trying to think. Virginia doesn't have an NFL team, right?
Closest one you got is,
The Ravens and the Panthers, right?
well, Washington.
Or Washington, I guess. That's
Washington
true.
and the Panthers, but you. I mean, you get a lot of people from the Carolinas, but if they're from the Carolinas, most of the time they're going to follow college sports more than NFL. There are a lot of Eagles fans, even a pretty big Packers fan base at Liberty. So I mean, you have them from all around, but I feel like those are the two bigger ones. Trying to remember when I was working Sunday nights, what I would see people walking around in.
Yeah. Well, I know you brought up baseball a little bit. You know, when we were in middle school, the Rangers went to a couple World Series. Didn't win them, but
I haven't done the same since.
yeah. Is that still your team, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if we're struggling.
Yeah, it's all right. The Phillies have the longest playoff drought of anybody in the National League. So I know last year they expanded the playoffs, and it was a very goofy season with COVID screwing everything up. But
Yeah, baseball's a weird thing. So many games happen because they're playing a lot of games in a week, like 4 or 5 games in a week.
yeah, or at least a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
So
they're just tiring themselves out, and it's hard to keep up with it sometimes. And
especially when your team's not doing great, the morale isn't there, and
just like the Rangers, yeah, I'll support them. I don't want to be a bandwagoner too. So that's why
I haven't.
keep up.
Yeah, I used to be able to give you the entire 40-man roster for the Phillies, and now Bryce Harper's doing whatever, and the team looks good one week, and then they don't look good the next.
That's baseball for you, though, at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you go on an 8-game win streak and then just completely fall back apart to?
Because you have one struggling pitcher that can't hold his weight for as long as the rest of them. So I mean, Nick Solak, he's okay on the Rangers, and there are a lot of struggles on the Rangers. I don't think we have a very good pitcher. I can't remember who our pitcher is, but none of our pitchers are out there fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, another reason I've kind of fallen out of keeping up with baseball as well is it's a lot like what's happened in NASCAR. Ironically enough, I feel like the traditions and what the core fan base is used to, you're pushing them away by trying to fundamentally change the game.
Yeah.
And I know part of that was the shortened season last year, but they're keeping a lot of those changes. They're talking about a pitch clock, and you're starting extra innings with a runner on second, which I think is the worst out of all of them. The intentional walk rule.
And even the response to the Astros. That whole thing. That was a big like, what are you doing? The whole response to the Astros and all that crap.
Do you watch First Take at all, or did you?
No, I haven't.
On ESPN?
No.
Okay. I remember Max Kellerman saying, like, when that whole thing was going down, like, I think this is good for baseball. Everybody's talking about baseball for once, and it's like, well, yeah, but why are they talking about it? You got this massive scandal. Like, yeah, it's in the press and everything, but I think people feel like they didn't come down hard enough on them.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But even then, they're still trying to define, okay, what can a pitcher, like, have on his hands when he's pitching? What can this person have? They're trying to make it too convoluted and too complicated, where I think they just need to keep it, like, this is how it is. Players will get better, but these are the set rules. You can't have this, or you can only have this, Because even, like, substances on hands, it changes how you pitch and how quickly you pitch or what kind of pitches you can do.
Yeah, well, I remember some people were saying that they should take the World Series away, and, I've got mixed feelings on on that because, like, you would say you would just give it to the Dodgers, but then the Yankees fans would argue, well, they beat us in the ALCS, so how do you know that we don't go into Los Angeles and beat them and win the World Series ourselves? So, it's like, Barry Bonds and the whole steroid thing, the home runs occurred. That's objective fact. You can't take them away, but you can put the asterisk next to it and have your opinions about them and know that, others didn't use steroids to... I feel like that's kind of what you got to do with the Astros. Like, that those games occurred as they did, and, they had an unfair advantage with the technology they were using.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to... That's why I have mixed feelings about, college, and all those scandals and vacating wins and... the Tour de France with Lance Armstrong. It's like, well...
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that's in my mind.
Yeah.
But then you take the first... Whatever. The first guy who wasn't using any form of steroids.
Because that's the thing. Like, I think 6 of his 7 wins, the second place guy, was caught doping as well, just because it was just infested in the sport.
I think the nearest one is in, like, the 20s, isn't it? Where, like,
probably for
the next guy...
didn't... Who's got a completely clean record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's... At that point, it's like, okay, maybe they need to be more on top of it as an organization. But, I guess he's better than all the other people doping.
Yeah, well, that's my thing. I feel like it just cancels out,
Yeah.
It's no longer... You can say it's no longer who's the best, but, I still feel like it's who's the best while they're on PEDs or whatever it is, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what sports are you keeping up with most these days, then?
Football for the most part. College football, especially how Liberty's doing, and then, of course, NFL. Frustrated that I did not watch any of the games this past weekend for NFL.
Yeah.
But I have been keeping up with college football and how all that stuff goes. Liberty just beat Troy down in Alabama, and they beat Campbell University the week prior to that. So this weekend, hopefully they can win. A lot of people are putting them with only one loss this season, and having a third bowl win in a row. So,
yeah. Do you have a college team aside from Liberty?
Not really. My dad's big into Syracuse, but I was never into.
Yeah, because I know I've got family in Florida and UD. Yeah.
Not really. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people find an SEC team or like one of those Power 5 conferences to move on to, but
a lot of people into. Virginia Tech and UVA, but I'm just like, I'll just stick with Liberty. It's an independent school, but they do well enough too. So
yeah. Well, I know you're a comic book fan, certainly even more so than I am. My sister's really gotten me hooked on Marvel stuff. I'm still figuring out and learning the whole DC universe. Haven't seen very many of the movies.
Yeah, the DC universe, the DCEU is kind of weird.
Yeah, I feel like they saw what the MCU was doing and tried to replicate it, but
ultimately failed. Yeah,
hasn't gone super well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know you were mentioning we talked a little bit about the Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
Is that up there with your favorite characters in the genre?
Yeah, I was never really a huge Spider-Man fan growing up, but being able to play that game, it's the mechanics, the story, it's all really good. When it comes to probably like the films, like in the MCU, I've enjoyed the Captain America films, of course. I think we went and saw the second one in theaters when it came out.
Was it The Winter Soldier?
It was.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is my favorite. That's my
Yeah.
That's my favorite MCU film. But I just actually recently watched Black Widow, and that was good. I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, but
yeah.
And I've watched all the shows except for What If, so I'm keeping up with it.
Yeah, I still need to watch the What If episode that came out last week. But otherwise I'm caught up.
I'm kind of like on the What If stuff.
It's animated, and I guess it bounces off the whole multiverse thing, but that's
Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man No Way Home. I liked watching it. I watched Tobey Maguire, especially like growing up, the 2002, 2004, 2007 movie. And then there's the Andrew Garfield ones, which are meh.
Yeah, the first one I feel like is all right. The second one has some issues. But...
Yeah, so I'm looking forward. I'm hoping for them, but you never know.
Well, have you seen the photos that leaked?
I haven't seen what photos that leaked. Are
there
they
was
recent?
There was a photo there were two photos actually that somebody seemed to get that have Toby and Andrew on a set together in their Spider-Man suits, and then there's another picture of Andrew close up, and his hair's a little bit longer, he looks a little bit older, and they like analyzed it and proved that it's not photoshopped, and I think 4 seconds of video was even leaked since this happened, but
so whoever took that picture, if they ever get found out, Marvel is
well, here's
firing
the
them.
yeah, yeah, I mean,
Kind of looks photoshopped, but maybe.
Well, this is the close-up of Andrew here. And then the real thing that fans are saying Sony just inadvertently confirmed it is somebody, I think the first person that uploaded these, got a copyright takedown from Sony. So think about that.
So Sony's being...
The only way that Sony
secretive.
could copyright claim that and get it taken down is if it was really theirs, right?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
That to me, like, if that's not confirmation that they're doing something at least,
yeah,
you know.
Well, and with the trailer, you know, we knew that we were gonna have Alfred Molina come back as Doc Ock, but the end with the Goblin Bomb and Willem Dafoe coming back, like that was a pretty big thing because having Willem Dafoe, he's kind of aged a bit up there.
Yeah, well, people have their theories about, like, you know, is it a multiverse? Is it the same characters? You know, because I think they tried to say that J.K. Simmons and J. Jonah Jameson was, I mean, it's the same actor playing a different version of the same character.
Yeah.
But now that you've opened up the whole multiverse thing, you know, I feel like, you know, you could bring RDJ back as Tony Stark, you know, and you'd find a way to make it make sense.
RDJ doesn't want to come back.
Yeah, well, I know he doesn't, and I can't imagine
will.
that they would do it because, you know, it was such a perfect ending in Endgame. But
it's the same with Chris Evans. They wouldn't bring him back because they're making a Captain America 4. Well, if you haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I don't want to ruin anything. But
yeah, it's definitely a whole new different era with these characters. But
yeah, and I'm looking forward to a lot of them with Fantastic Four having been recently announced. Coming into the fold, I'm excited for that. I think Marvel, if anyone can do it right, do it justice. It's Marvel. There are some other shows. I think they're gonna do Secret Wars, or they're talking about it.
I think the Hawkeye trailer came out today.
Hawkeye trailer. I watched that earlier today.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah. So Hawkeye looks good. I don't know if you've seen Black Widow. Have you?
Yes. So I'm caught up on everything.
You were there for spoiler alert, by the way. You watched the end credit, right?
Right. Kind of leads into...
So it leads into Hawkeye a little bit. So
I kind of feel bad, though, because, like... Well, I don't know. Because, I mean, these TV shows basically have the budget of a blockbuster film. Yeah. But, you know, it's like...
It's Disney.
Yeah. But, like, all the OG 6 Avengers now, like, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America... Black Widow, they all have solo films now, and Hawkeye has a TV show, you know. Yeah. So, but it's still a high budget TV show with.
Well, I think Black Widow was a long time coming. I think they needed to make a movie.
Yeah, I mean that's, you know, some people are saying it's one of the weaker films. I mean, almost all the films are great.
Yeah, it wasn't. Of course, it's not my favorite film, but it was good and definitely not the worst. There are worse Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, Thor: The Dark World I think is my weakest. I love Hulk,
there.
but you know, the Incredible Hulk just kind of feels like a different thing.
Yeah.
But Black Widow I think was one that, you know, it would have been better probably if they'd released it like in the timeline chronologically after Civil War, or you know, given her a solo movie in Phase 2 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that, and then with all this stuff going on with Scarlett Johansson and her suing Disney. I don't know I don't know the latest news on that kind of stuff, but I know Disney will not be hiring her again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, well, you know, the character's dead anyway, so it would have to be. Well,
Disney's was kind of screwing her over, so I understand her part, but it was also legally, I mean, it was in the fine print, so.
Yeah, but like if you're promised, you know, a theatrical release and then they go make, you know, millions of dollars on Disney Plus with that revenue, and you're not getting a cut of that. I can certainly understand.
And that's how I watched it. Was on Disney Plus, but I did not pay for it.
Okay.
I borrowed it.
I went to the theater.
Yeah.
I think that was the first movie I saw.
But I think Disney learned, and they're like, yeah, Shang-Chi, we're gonna put this out in theaters and not on Disney Plus. So I'm looking forward to seeing Shang-Chi sometime. I've heard very good things about Shang-Chi.
Yeah. It's not really a spoiler. Jeff Gordon got a reference in the Shang-Chi movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They start out as valet drivers in the beginning, and somebody brings this BMW in, and one of the characters says, "I'm the Asian Jeff Gordon," and Sean says, "I don't know who that is," and she's like, "Most wins in NASCAR history ever." And of course, I'm sitting there in the theater saying, "Okay, well, Richard Petty doesn't exist in the MCU, I guess," or they didn't do their research. One of the two.
Both.
Yeah. Well, it's a good movie, so
I
think you're going to be in for a treat.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and find. We have a couple gift cards to movie theaters, so I think we're gonna try and find a time to go over and see that. Spend some time. So that'll be really nice.
Yeah. And then you got the Eternals in a couple months.
Yes, I keep forgetting that the Eternals is like they're 4 movies this year. 4 movies, 3 TV shows.
I mean, I don't
4 TV shows.
Yeah, everything got pushed back, obviously. But I still don't know as much about the characters.
The Eternals.
Yeah. So.
They're definitely a more obscure group. I've kind of looked into them a little bit, but they're a little weirder, more obscure in terms of just what their role is. More cosmic, of course, but
well, I'm intrigued to see what they do with it.
Yeah,
like I said, it's still amazing what they've been able to do, but it is a new era for the franchise.
Over 13 years.
13 years now, yeah.
Which is crazy that 2 years ago is when Endgame came out. I feel like it was just 6 months ago. Yeah, in some ways,
it's crazy how you watch all these new movies and there's references to 5 or 10 previous movies all in the same connected world.
Universe.
Yeah, or multiverse, I guess we have to say now.
Yeah, Kevin Feige has done something unthought of in, I would even say, when Iron Man first came out. Yeah, because they were teasing at it with the Nick Fury, and if you haven't seen Iron Man, then well, too bad.
Yeah. It's crazy to me how this whole thing started with a man in a cave building an iron suit, and it turns into
Did you see Endgame in theaters? Were you into it as much?
I saw it after the re-release, so I already knew, I was trying to get caught up on movies, and I'd seen most of them by then.
Yeah, I remember.
And I knew what happened at the end, so
I saw it in theaters, and man, if I could just relive some of those moments. Sitting in the theater, because for some reason we had gotten the best seats in the theater in the exact middle of the movie theater. And if I could relive some of those moments of spoilers for Endgame if you haven't watched it, but Cap getting Mjolnir and the snap and just a whole bunch of other stuff or even them all coming back.
Yeah.
That was just
that was the On Your Left reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a masterpiece of a film.
Can you imagine that conversation? T'Challa tells Doctor Strange, "Open the portal on the left," and Doctor Strange would be like, "Why?" He's like, "It's important. Just open it on the left."
It's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those little headcanon funny little things. And there's just so much more to that universe that they're creating, and I kind of how world building, Tolkien was the first to build a big fantasy world. Well, they're doing that with movies now, where they're creating multiple universes out of these movies. It would have been unthinkable 20 years ago, even 15, 13 years ago. Now they're like, oh, we can suddenly think in multi-dimensional things, so we're going to have this villain from this movie come into this movie, which is a completely separate universe, and we all can understand it for some reason.
I think Sam Raimi deserves a lot of credit with his trilogy. Because people talk, newer fans about comparing it to the MCU Spider-Man movies and the technology we have now that we didn't have in 2002. But
as cheesy as it was, I mean, it was
Yeah.
They were good movies, so I don't think.
And like I feel like if he doesn't go make that trilogy, I don't know that the superhero genre would have taken off in the same way that it did, and who knows where we'd be now.
Yeah, there are staples. There are some staples in like those movies, like Tobey Maguire got ripped for that first movie, and before that, for superhero movies, that wasn't really a thing. Was the actor actually getting ready for the role, and then just, of course, we got the whole origin story, and we got used to that pretty quickly. But I mean that might not have been a thing. Origin stories weren't huge beforehand. I mean, you had Superman, but even the 1989 Batman movie didn't have the origin story really. He starts off in the middle of his time as Batman. So,
yeah, is that the Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Series? Okay. Yeah, my DC knowledge is still extremely limited.
So Vulture and Homecoming.
Yeah, have you seen the Morbius trailer?
I have seen the Morbius trailer. I don't know how I feel about it, just because I'm not familiar with it. But I haven't seen Venom.
Yeah, people have mixed feelings on Venom too, and what Sony's kind of spin-off universe. But that like end scene in the teaser trailer, where you see Keaton's Vulture and it's Jared Leto as Morbius, and people are joking about like Marvel fans see Vulture and Morbius, and DC fans see Batman and Joker.
Except I haven't even seen Suicide Squad, so
yeah, I hear that's the weakest of the DC EU or whatever.
I watched Man of Steel when it came out, and the Dark Knight trilogy, and Batman v Superman, and all that. But the DCEU kind of struggled. I don't know if you've seen the Snyder cut of Justice League.
No, yeah, I know it just came out.
It's like 4 hours.
Yeah,
and that one took a couple sittings to get.
Did that improve the movie at all?
So I hadn't seen the original Justice League other than snippets, and even then, like, it was on randomly at my mother-in-law's house, and I had seen the Snyder cut, and then the original cut in Justice League I had just seen snippets of, and I'm like, what is this movie? Like, this is a weird looking movie. So it's very different in terms of how it looks, even in little scenes and stuff. I thought it was good compared to what I heard. I was going in like ready for a disaster, but it was pretty good. And getting to see characters like Darkseid that I had seen like in animated form, that was kind of cool. Yeah.
So we're here in my basement doing this right now. It's nice to be in person again. The last few of these I've done have been over Zoom, but we've had a lot of memories playing that Wii over there, and I'm thinking the game show games in particular. You're like the Deal or No Deal, I think.
I was gonna say
champion of the world.
Deal or No Deal, first play, right? It was the first time I played it.
Yeah, I think so.
And I won it twice, I think.
Yeah, I think they had the double dollar value feature or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it was like actually you won $2 million, like 2 games in a row or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are the chances of that?
Oh man, there are some times where I'm like, because I sometimes watch Jeopardy when I can, and I'm like, oh, if I could play just Jeopardy like on the Wii right now, like that.
The Deal or No Deal Wii game, I feel like that might be one of the best game show video games ever made. Because you actually got Howie Mandel to host it, and you could play it.
I mean, it's true to the original game.
Yeah.
It basically plays like the original game.
Yep. You play as the banker. You can, do the $1 million mission that they were doing. Like, they took everything from the real game and incorporated it as an option into the video game.
So I mean, it was very true to the original TV show.
Yeah. And the Jeopardy Wii game, I think, was pretty good as well. And the Wheel of Fortune, just because you had... It's nice when you actually had Alex Trebek and Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
Yeah.
Some of the games that Ludia made, like the Millionaire game, it's just like a generic voiceover guy in a studio. It doesn't give you the full experience if you're playing the game.
I'm just remembering some of the... computers or the AI on there give the stupidest answers when they
that was Family Feud, I think.
Was it? Yeah, it was Family Feud. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You ever want like free comedy, go play the Family Feud Decades Wii game on easy mode and watch the
computers give their own answers in there.
Yeah. But what I think we discovered one time that according to the Wii game, like horse is synonymous with panda for some reason.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So like we discovered that in the main game somehow. I think like I don't know if the AI gave the answer or what.
It had to be,
but like,
because none of us would have thought that.
One of the past money surveys was like name an animal you ride or something, and whoever it was says panda. And we get like 88 people said that answer because
yeah, it's
I don't know. Those games, like, they're fun to play from time to time, but it's not. I think the quality of them is lacking a bit compared to some of the other franchises of games in that genre. I just wish they'd make more of those games again, man. Just because, like, the primetime block on ABC now, like, there's been so many revivals, and they're making a lot of board games, which I feel like that's kind of a technology that in this era of having games on your phone and next gen consoles, you'd think you'd want to release popular TV show home games out on those.
Yeah, well, and even the Wii was definitely built for home games, family games.
Yeah.
Because even with Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort and like Wii Party, Wii Play, all that kind of stuff, that was very much like family oriented, get together, spend time. Because I even remember my family playing Wii Sports bowling together because we were just like, let's play bowling, So those were always nice.
Have you been keeping up with this whole Jeopardy thing at all?
Not really.
The whole host?
Not really. I don't get live TV all too much, so I can't really watch Jeopardy. I can find it on Netflix and watch reruns. But
yeah. Well, I remember I was excited when they announced Mike Richards was going to get the position, just because I'd seen what he did with a couple of GSN shows, and I thought he was a very good host and everything. And being the executive producer after Alex passed away and giving a couple of nice tributes to him. I was optimistic about where things were going, and then just, little by little, all this stuff kept coming out about him, and now he's not only out as the host, but he's out as executive producer, too.
Yeah.
Which is fortunate or unfortunate, I guess, depending on how you view the situation. I have a little bit less sympathy for him now, given how much has come out. But, it's a shame that this is what immediately happened after Alex passed away, and this is the immediate aftermath of, trying to fill the role that he left.
Yeah, because when you think Jeopardy, you think Alex Trebek.
Yeah, I mean that's why it was always going to be difficult to
replace him.
Well, you can't replace him.
Yeah,
somebody's going to take over. But it's a completely new era.
If Pat Sajak, Vanna White, can you think of anyone to replace those positions?
Well, it's ironic because I think they just announced like getting ready for the new season and everything, some gameplay tweaks and stuff like that. And one of the things was, by the way, Pat and Vanna are re-upped through 2024. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why. You don't want to have to go through what you've just gone through again.
Well, they make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Vanna White has to walk 20 feet, and she makes a ton of money.
Yeah. But it's crazy too now. Like, she doesn't have to actually turn the letters anymore. Like, they could totally not use her. Yeah. They have the technology now, but, it's such a classic part of the show. So.
And they seem to enjoy it on that show. Just like I think Alex Trebek enjoyed his time on Jeopardy. Getting to meet people and host the show. So.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly I can get this out, because I've got a couple other projects I'm working on, and I'm probably going to split this into 2 episodes and everything. But, for those of you listening, whenever this is airing, we're taping this on the 13th of September, and that's the start of a new season. So, it's going to be interesting. You've got the 5 episodes that Mike Richards taped. It's going to be awkward watching that, knowing everything we know now and everything that's happened. Because people were suggesting, like, you edit it and give somebody else the opportunity to do a voiceover, but, the amount of work that you'd have to do to make that not seem super obvious as to what's happened,
Yeah, it would take way too long to do it.
Well, you've got a super champion now, too, who's won a bunch of games, and, it's not like Wheel of Fortune where, you've got 3 new contestants every time, and if you had to, you could air them out of order or anything.
Yeah.
So you have to air the games in the order which they're taped.
Yeah.
So it's a mess, but I don't know. Hopefully somebody can step in and
I think they're trying to recover it as best as they can while staying honest to the game.
Well, that's the thing about it, is it's such a solid format and part of Americana that, you know, they might see a little bit of a dip in viewership or popularity based on how all this has been handled. But, you know, you can't kill a good format entirely in this genre. So
yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, of course.
This is easily the longest I've gone with anybody, but you know, I know you and I haven't had a chance to catch up in a while, so it's good to see you again. And like I said, congratulations on your marriage, and give your mom and dad, your dad in particular, as he continues to recover, all the best from all of us here in my family. So I appreciate it.
Definitely, yeah. Well, thank you for having me on here. It was fun. We definitely we have so much history together, and haven't grown up with each other just about. So yeah.
We should do a better job of staying in touch. Maybe not go 3.5 or 4 years or whatever without catching up like this next time. So.
I know. College keeps us busy, though.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll be near each other, too. I'm just about half an hour away, so.
Yeah. Let's make sure we stay in touch. And
yeah, definitely.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. Well, that was the conclusion to this two-parter with Noah. We ended up talking for over 2 hours. I think it comes out to a little bit less than that by the time you trim the fat, cut out the dead air, and edit it all down. But we really enjoyed doing this, and it reminded me of how much I missed doing these podcast episodes. So I'm going to try to keep doing them. I don't want to commit to making this a weekly thing like it was in the past just because of all the other things I've got going on right now, but I do have a lot of friends and colleagues I want to get on the show eventually, so I'm probably going to try to get new episodes out at least every other week or so going forward. We'll see what we can do, but for now, feel free to check out some of the other stuff on my channel, or some of the older episodes of this show, which are available on my channel as well. And as always, thanks for watching.